Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now that we're a few episodes into Daima, and you've been sitting on the fence waiting for an opportunity to binge watch some episodes, and to catch up even faster, you can go and check out my reviews right here, because I've done every single one. And don't worry, they are promising that Vegeta is coming very, very soon, Honest, as well as Piccolo, and don't worry, the pew-pews are back, and yeah, just watch the review. So episode 6 of Dragonball Daima came out a couple of days ago. Yes, admittedly, I've been a little bit late, but that's got nothing to do with the fact that it's getting boring or I'm losing interest. It's simply down to the fact that I was away on vacation and I was so tired after driving many, many hours, I just couldn't, I needed sleep. But I'm glad the fact that I did not sleep on this episode until the following week, because quite a few things that Hav and I have been discussing regarding the plot of Dragon Ball Daima have now come to pass. And that is, of course, that Glorio had something to do with Dr. Arinsu. We feel so happy about that. But having looked at this episode, I feel like that it's going to be a little bit more complicated than we might have first thought. Are they both in cahoots with one another? Well, maybe, maybe not. It's probably the case of Arinsu said to Glorio, I can get you something that you want, or we have a common enemy. Enemy? Enemy. And then eventually she'll double cross him, he'll feel like a fool, Goku will say, oh, it's okay, it happened all the time, and then they'll be best friends again. But admittedly, in this episode, I did briefly want Goku to whoop Glorio a new one, but he didn't do that. It was basically, we got an excuse to see Super Saiyan, we got a little bit of a fight sequence, all the while, the big bad of the episode, the monster that we thought it was going to be, that Minotaur, we should have seen this coming, obviously. Big, scary beast turns out to be completely normal. He just has a cave, he doesn't want squatters in it, and then he just sees the fight go down and then just goes, oh, I'm full now, bye. And that is typical Toriyama humor, as well as Goku needing to poop. Of course, it's a Toriyama thing. There is going to be poop involved in some way, much like it was especially in Dr. Slump. Only the case is, it turned out to be a neat little plot point because, of course, the gendarmerie are looking for the likes of Goku, and what better way to get him out of the picture than to just send him off to the bushes to go and do his business. Then he comes back at the right time. Yes, of course, it's just completely predictable, but at least it's somewhat logical. So it's not just like, quick, hide. Ooh, that's a suspicious looking plant. It's rare. Yeah, so no, just send him off to do his business because he hadn't actually been. So, okay, I'll give it that. It's fine. It's Dragon Ball. Okay, whatever. But one thing that was really interesting was the fact about the Glinds. We found out more about Shin's backstory, and it turns out that the guidebooks were true, but kind of. It's almost like Toriyama, over the period of 3 decades or so, looked back at that original thought and went, yeah, I kind of remember that, but maybe we should look at something else, because yes, indeed, Glinds are born from trees. They are technically fruits of trees. They are indeed born every few centuries or so. However, they are not like traditional fruit, as in, yes, they only require liquids to survive, but instead of them just being some kind of nut or acorn that comes off and then is born, they're just gestated in one. Like there's a cord and everything. They're just hanging in the middle of it. So it's a little bit more graphic than we would have expected, but sure enough, indeed, Shin is born from a tree. It's not a kaiju tree. There are quite a few of them there. So it's like a mixture of the two. So the Glinds, in a way, aren't this big special race. They are just a race of the second demon realm who all decided to just go off to the actual main universe because that seems a little bit more interesting. They set up shop there. They then somehow use their ships to get over to the sacred world of the Kais. They are then combined, maybe, because I think they are still millions of years old or something like that, and then they sort of become ingratiated into the heavenly realms of the universe 7 and indeed many other universes or something. Are these 3 demon worlds connected to just this universe or all the universes? Do they then consolidate into these 3 demon worlds? Maybe, maybe not. The fact is, though, we are still in the realms of the post-Majin Buu saga, where we don't know about multiple universes, and Shin doesn't seem to have a clue about it, or at least he thinks about this universe, whereas Goku, he's got no clue about the other 11 universes, so he's just thinking, I'm the strongest in this universe, as it's the only one. There are many questions to be had here, but I'm glad that the stuff about the guidebooks has been expanded upon and evolved. It would have been not necessarily a disappointment. It would have admittedly been a bit lazy if Toriyama just lifted that straight out of the guidebooks and then put it in without really thinking about what's been going on since the guidebooks were created in the mid-90s or something like that. There's been some evolution going on here and sort of bringing the Glinds down into just being another type of species who just so happen to be born from trees. And it's a little bit more natural than we would have first thought. There's at least a couple of 100 years between Begesu and Shin, and instead of Shin being the eldest like we first thought, he is the middle child, and that makes so much more sense. He is the overlooked middle child, whereas Arinsu is the eldest. And even though Shin said there aren't any genders with the Glinds, I suppose it's just presentation, really. I guess it's just the way they choose to develop or what their personalities are like. I don't know. But either way, it's just what it is, basically. I'm not a Glind. What am I to comment on it? Except for the fact that, cool, it's an evolution of the guidebook. So people who are avid fans of the Daizenshu, as well as the people who actually make Kanzenshu, they can now sleep at night realizing that the entire material that they've been looking at over the past 2 years has not been completely thrown in the bin. But we'll get back to some more things about the story. Needless to say, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Kibito are coming. And even though it did look for a brief moment that Bulma wouldn't come, I think she would be, for the fact that the ship broke, as in, it's not going to be that easy for them to get there. For a start, they don't know the pin to Warp Summer, so it's going to take a little bit more time for them to figure that out. And of course, Hybis is there to come and get them, so it's going to get to the point where they're going to be thinking, oh no, the ship doesn't work, what are we going to do? And then Hybis comes in, hey, that ship's really bad, or he just like knocks it and then it works properly. And then maybe they split, so that means 2 people are in his ship, 2 people are in the other one that Shin had, and all that stuff. So yeah, Bulma is definitely going to be part of the world and is obviously going to be having interactions with Pansy. And even though we all thought that Pansy would be a drag, she actually is really capable of her job and actually being a good mechanic. And she was quite pragmatic in going, yeah, maybe we should just not carry all of this stuff, because what we could have expected, especially with Bulma back in the day, would have been like, you can't possibly get rid of that. I need that thing. And then it's something completely frivolous or something like that. Whereas she's just like, yeah, okay, I probably overdid it a bit. Yeah, we'll just leave half of it here. Although there was a mistake about leaving the camping gear. But I can imagine that in being part of a purge and like, right, drop weight, there. And then realizing, oh, it happens to all of us, really. So I like that fact about Pansy, and the fact that she is not afraid to just chew Goku out, even though it's proven that he's incredibly strong. The toilet paper, yeah, that's really funny. But then we got to get to the fight. Goku and Glorio, them having a spar, this was to be expected because this was inevitable. Glorio, this mysterious being who we have no clue about. Then there's Goku. They want to test each other's limits and boundaries because of course Goku's curious about Gorillo or Glorio or whatever name. He can get it right, but then he just chooses to get it wrong. It's just like, it's just how he says it. It's just how it comes out of his mouth. But with the actual fight, as I've seen on social media all the time, Glorio's powers are basically Palpatine. It's just lightning energy, so he's just basically just going to Goku. Gah! Close quarter combat is a thing, kind of, but it's not really his forte. It's mainly just like standing there, doing that or finger. Basically, his magical abilities is shooting lightning out of his fingers, and that's pretty much it. Sure, he can fight a little bit, but it turns out that you just show him Super Saiyan, or some people thinking it's Super Saiyan 2. But does it really matter? As far as these demons are concerned, this is Super Saiyan. Goku doesn't need to go through the whole numerical thing again. It's just, yeah, that's just Super Saiyan. That's what he can do. He might be able to do Super Saiyan 3 as a kid, but right now, he's just relieved that he can basically transform into a Super Saiyan of some description. Although I personally think it's 1, because the bangs, they're not flicking up, it's not as detailed, the hair, it's just the standard thing. And of course that's to be expected. He barely did it in the first episode, but now he can actually transform at will. And now Glorio was just completely humbled, and he just was seeing his lightning being completely negated by Goku just going like that or that. That in and of itself is cool. And the animation for the fight was really, really impressive. Even though it was just a small tidbit, it was only a couple of minutes, but I think this is the beginning of the show ramping itself up a bit to realize that there is going to be a lot more peril. There's going to be a lot more stakes coming around here, which might impact the entire demon realm. I know that many people are bored of Daima for the fact the first 5 episodes have mainly just been not much about action and more about story and lore building, but that's what we've got to do, because otherwise, why would we care about the demon realm? I want to know about what the 3 demon worlds are like. I want to know that they are struggling. And I want to know that Glorio is more than just a simple broody mercenary who might be evil. Sure, he's gotten into bed with Arinsu, not literally, but they are in cahoots with one another in terms of wanting the same thing. But there is something more to this, is that he's now realized that Goku, who he's been tasked basically to keep occupied or maybe bring to Arinsu for further research about the person who can beat Majin Buu. So maybe combining DNA of Majin with Goku to make the ultimate super warrior maybe. But now he's realized that, yeah, this Goku's really impressive and I'm actually really amazed by his power, and this could make things really complicated, so maybe I should actually start to help him, and maybe I picked the wrong person to back because this has changed things rather considerably. But then it's too late to back out now. Arinsu will reveal her plans, and when they get to see her, she'll go, "Nice work, Glorio, bringing them to me," and then they'll go, "What? You were working with her the whole time?" And then he'll be like, "It's complicated, brooding, and all that stuff." But there are many questions that are starting to be answered, as well as some more being established. But I'm glad that we're at this point now where we are now entering the next phase of the story, because we can do Super Saiyan. Vegeta and Piccolo and Bulma are arriving relatively soon, maybe in the next couple of episodes or something. But now we've established the world and how it works and what the main objective is, and that Gloria has some sort of complicated arrangement with the villains, because come on, Goma's not the main villain. He's the poster child or something, but Arinsu's the one running the show because she wants to continue her scientific stuff. And Goma might have not wanted to do that, so, you know, just completely outsmart him or something like that. But I'm just glad that we're going to be heading into this next chapter where we might see a little bit more action and a little bit more intricacies when it comes to what's going on in the 3rd demon world before we then move on to the 2nd one. Because as it's been made clear, because they took time to explain it, you start off with the 3rd one, you go to the 2nd one, either through using Warp Summer or breaking through that magical door that is completely blocking casual transportation between the realms, and then get to the 1st one. That's the thing. And as has been established, the 3rd one is the biggest, so we might spend the most time there. Then we'll go to the 2nd one. We'll find out more about the Glinds and what's left of them. And then we'll get to the 1st one, where you can then find out about the Tamagamis, unless there's a Tamagami in every single realm. So we might get the 1st one, and it sounds like Gloria has fought the 1st one, so he might be even more impressed by the fact that Goku can defeat the 1st one. So I think that's the thing. The Tamagamis will increase in terms of strength as we go. So I think the 1st one, Goku will beat relatively easily. The 2nd one might be a bit more of a challenge. The 3rd one, they're going to require everyone working together to defeat them. And then we'll find out the story about Neva and Arinsu being more evil than we first thought, or having more plans. But I'm glad this episode's brought out more questions and it's gotten us intrigued. It's answered some of the basic ones from the first phase of the story, so we can now move on to the next one, as well as the fact that Super Saiyan is a thing. We've got martial arts in there, of course, but we've now got the big magical beam struggles, we've got pew-pews, we've got golden hair, and Goku can now basically transform at will. So we've got that. We've now got Vegeta, he's ready to go. Even though I've seen many people going, well, why isn't he in the Room of Spirit and Time training? Well, don't forget, Dende, I don't think he's not done the thing that was established in Super, where he's updated the Room of Spirit and Time, meaning that you can just go in there for as long as you like, whenever you like. I think as far as Vegeta is concerned right now, he's had his lot. He's already done his 2 days, so he's now just having to make do with lifting weights and stuff like that. So I don't think that MacGuffin from Super has been put into action yet. So I think that's the main explanation, as far as I can tell. And I feel like that more of this story will come to us in the next episode. I feel like it's going to be ramping up in terms of pacing, because there's a lot more to get through. We have no clue about how many episodes there are going to be. Many people are thinking, well, maybe it might be 20, it might be 25. I personally think it might be about 24 or something like that. A 6-month cycle. So we'll get through the autumn anime cycle, the winter one, and then we'll get into the spring one, and then we'll find out what's going to be happening from there. We might get an announcement of a new series of Dragon Ball, we might get an announcement of a new movie. I feel like the pace will suddenly start to increase and we'll get more information about what's going on with Dragon Ball. Because Sparking Zero and Daima have done enough to be able to get some interest back into the series. And then eventually when we get the manga coming back, we might start to get a nice little rhythm, which means an anime will then become inevitable, or at least another solid movie. So there is a lot to be excited about Dragon Ball, and Daima is certainly it. And I'm glad that this episode had a little bit of everything. It had classic Toriyama humor, it had some really good action and animation, and it also had a classic Dragon Ball Z beam struggle, as well as Super Saiyan and transformations, and just general comedy and a nice understanding of the world and its characters, as well as a little bit of an adventure. And I just still love the trope of the big, tough, scary characters turning out to actually be big softies, or just wanting to just get on with their day. I mean, come on. If I were the Minotaur and I was finding that people were just squatting there and hadn't actually asked nicely, I'd be a little bit annoyed too. And if I were big, tough, and scary, you'd want to try and scare them away. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed this episode, folks, and I shall see you in the next one. Or maybe if you like and subscribe this video, you can maybe stick around for tomorrow or Tuesday for a more in-depth discussion into the more detailed intricacies of this episode and what Have and I generally think about where it's going to go. Catch you later.